Hello, this is Sandy Thomas, and I'm going through my part two of my Meals app upgrade. So, here I just want to show my Udemy progress. I finished section 8, section 9, and section 10. Let's get into the demo of my app now. So, restart the app. See, we still have our hamburger menu here, and we still have everything meals there. Still got our favorites here. Some new things. So we have filters here, and you can toggle these. So I'll toggle gluten-free and vegetarian. So when we go back, you can still see the filters are still on a save state, but only one thing pops up now. And you can see another thing that we added as well, animations here for liking the meals. I'll keep that one liked. Let's go back to our filters, remove that, and you'll see that everything else comes up. And if you see the animation, it comes from top to bottom or bottom to top when clicking on a meal, and it goes back top to bottom down. So that's what we worked on. I'll show you the other filters as well. So we'll do lactose free and vegan. Nope, nothing there. Nothing's there either. Oh, that one's still there. Let's see if there's another one. Oh, spaghetti. Here we go. We can like this as well, and you'll see. Still have that. And so then I'll show some anime. The new screen here. Still have it liked. I'm gonna unlike these. As you see, the button goes away. Unlike this. Then, as you see the animation there, it's pretty natural sliding from bottom up to the top when it clicks. And that's what we worked on in this part. So usually I go through file by file, but I kind of went through every file in the last tutorial. So I want to talk about the main things that we touched on in these new tutorials. And one of the big things that we worked on is the providers, and this providers folder here. And so providers is a way to save state, and it just helps get rid of redundant code. And as you're scaling projects, instead of having a bunch of set states everywhere, if you just put everything in a provider, it'll handle your state for you. And I thought it was interesting, and I enjoyed learning about it because I thought we would just have to do a bunch of set states, but we actually don't. We can just use providers for everything. And so here, like the meal providers, you just return the dummy meals. And one of the key things is you see is provider here instead of like a stateful or a stateless widget, and then a ref, which is a reference, and then you just return the dummy meals. And this is for the meals provider. For the filters provider, here we go. So we added the enum category here to this one. And one thing I forgot to touch on as well, when you're using when you want to do the providers, something that you use is a new package that we learned about was the RiverPod. So we have RiverPod here, and then RiverPod Legacy. This is what we use for that. And so here, like I said, and use the notifier function here as well. So instead, as you see, we still have a state, but instead of like stateful or stateless widget, we have a state notifier. And this is here with our provider, we changed the filters over. This is how we created simplified our categories here. Sorry, not our categories, but our filters here. How we were able to simplify it was using the state notifier here. Let me turn these off. And so that's how we were able to simplify it, is using the state notifier here. But when using the providers, you still have to have like these two functions here, like avoid, set filter, and void. We did set filters and then a set filter, and so we learned this new state, three dot state here, and so we had to use a boolean for if it's active, and then we used a filter here, and then these two are used in the file that we're using. So filter, here we go. Let's go to see. Yep, here we go. Filter provider notifier here, set filter. And see, and that's how we're able to just switch everything there and use our buttons here with that. Filter provider notifier again, set filter there. Yep, and then once again we have another one here, state notifier provider. And then we have references here, declarations of meal and active filters. And then we ran this long if statement, so to be able to return our meals when we click on whatever filter we want to use. And here in our favorites provider, this is just dealing with our favorites meal. It's pretty short. We have if statements here to add everything to our meal, and then we use a state notifier here, and some more RiverPod code here. And so to deal with the animations, we can go to our categories.dart file, and here we go right here. So we use the slide transition, as you see, and then we learn about the tween operator, which is just between, but you can have a begin and an end, and you can start like the times of when you want to use it. So if it offsets, we use 0 to 0.3 and then 0 to 0, and that's how we see our animation when we are going on our categories. And so we also learned about the curved animation here, and then we just have you can add parameters to it, and the parameters that we added was the parent and the curve, so ease in and out, and animation controller, which we define at the top here. Here we go. Oh no, sorry. We added it as late. That was something else we did that we know is eventually going to come is just late. That's obviously why it has its name. And yeah, we go there, and that's how we're able to do that. And in the meal details, we also have animations there. And so to get this picture to come from bottom to top and bottom to top, we use this hero widget here. And that is what we added a tag, and then this is what allowed us to be able to have that animation there as well. So that's something else that we learned, and that is what allows us to have this animation here. I'll show again. It goes like that, like that. And so when you go from favorites, slide in and out, that is what we were talking about previously, and how that's able to work is from that code I showed previously. So yeah, this is Sandy, and I thank you for coming along and watching my video.